spent some time in the last few days doing some renovations around our main watering system for our garden. Got our watering cans organized, have a new aerator recirculator pump, and an automatic float valve. So it seems like some technical stuff, but overall pretty janky and simple and DIY. I'd like to share notes in this video about these upgrades and why I'm excited about them. The first aspect of all this is very much low tech, no tech. We had this post here where we used to do vining crops along the south side of the high tunnel. I might come back to that at some point, but this post has been sitting here for a while, and I thought it'd be nice to get the watering cans off the ground. Normally there's just a mountain of them sitting over here, and so I put up these locust staves, and now we can actually hang our watering cans. The ones that are the most beat up, the hand-me-down ones that we've patched a few times, are tucked in the furthest. But this way there's a nice default place to put watering cans. The next thing that I'm excited to share is this idea of a float valve. I should explain or zoom out a little bit for folks that don't know this channel. We do all of our farming here entirely with collected water. For the most part, all the water here is from collected rainwater. And what we normally do is have to open a valve to refill this 200-gallon tank. And it's an old hand-me-down hose. You'd be amazed if you look at Craigslist or Free Cycle or Ask Around, or even just on the side of the road. Very often there's hoses that people are throwing out because they've got a ding in them or a cut, so we just mend them and use them. But the flow rate from this IBC tank, this is where it collects water off the south side of our home, this is not much higher at all than that tank. And so I open the valve down here and then hope that I remember to close it within 6 hours or 8 hours. The number of times where it's overflowed and we've lost water is too many to count. So the upgrade that I've made makes it way easier. Let me explain. So the hose is the exact same as it was before, but I went online and I'm realizing now there's probably a better way to do this that's DIY and cheaper, but I found this float valve. I was able to get 6 of these. When I bought 6 of them, it was something like $5 or $6 a piece. You get the gist. This is, if you've seen the inside of a toilet, you know what's going on. Basically, water comes in. Unfortunately, the size of the hole is very, very small, but that's fine. And as water goes, as the water level is low, it allows the water to flow through, and eventually the water level comes up to a certain point, and a little stopper in there closes the flow. You can see it's closed, it's open, and so this automatically keeps the tank completely filled right up to that line. And I just found, it's a 1/2-inch thread, so I found this little thing that goes from 1/2-inch threading to standard 3/4-inch garden hose. And so all told, we're in about 10 or 12 bucks. Basically now we can put this on the end of our hose, open it in the spring, the valve on the tank, and know that all day, every day, the water level will be perfectly right up to the lip without having to monitor valves and open and close things and remember to do things. It's been an incredible upgrade for us. Simple, but very, very important. It's the next morning here. I turned off the pump. We had some friends come by last night, so the video stopped there, but we'll continue on. I figured with the pump off, I can explain things a little bit better anyway. So right, there's this float valve and all that, and you can see it in action. If I were to pull a bunch of water out of here, and that little float would be descending because it wouldn't be buoyant on the water, it just keeps gently filling back up, back up, back up until it gets full. This has been probably one of the biggest, it seems like nothing if you're not into this kind of stuff, but to me it's probably one of the biggest upgrades we've had in our water systems in quite a long time. You can see it just keeps trickling until it fills up. I watered a bunch this morning, so that's why it's doing that. Definitely a thing that remains to be done is to take this old solar panel. This is a 20-watt solar panel, very, very small, and figure out a simple wooden mount. If that was up there, it would be running the pump already. In fact, well, it's hard with the handle. I brought a battery out to show it, but that'll be finalized soon enough. And what that does is connects directly to this very simple, very inexpensive circulation pump. If you go online, so I put this screen on front. I actually need to take that off and give it a good cleaning. Just a door screen mesh. This is a device I get on eBay for $22. There is the information. You can search for that online. See if you can find it on eBay instead of Amazon. And what this will do is lift almost up to 10 feet. It draws just about 12 or 15 watts, so next to no energy. It can run directly off that panel all day in the sun. And it sits about mid-water line, lifts water up through this old hose that we found on the side of the road, goes through this random knot in the wood that was there anyway, and by default would just spit straight out. But we've added this very, very janky but functional Venturi, which basically the water comes through, it's constricted a bit. This tea we got at a local reuse store for 25 cents, but it goes through, and there's an old ballpoint pen tube that was put down, a little cut put on the bottom of it at an angle facing this way, and then electric tape around that, and we can adjust that depending on how much air we want. So the water rushes through, it compresses as it goes through this tube, which makes a little bit of a vacuum over here from what I understand, and it draws air in, and so the air is mixed with the water as it shoots back in. So for now I'm just plugging it into a little battery to show this. And so the water's being pulled from middle of the tank up and over and back down, and you can see lots and lots of bubbles. You can hear a gurgling sound. That's the air being drawn in. In fact, if I put my thumb on there, you can hear the water changes into a much smoother flow. Now a lot more air. So this little pump becomes an aerator and circulator, which will help reduce the mosquito population. And we find that when frogs come in here and they're sitting on this board, they really, really like the water falling on them and the little splashes. It's probably really nice for them too. So it makes the water fresher, more alive, more oxygenated, and it sounds really nice too. And it works very, very simply, by and large, just on a solar panel and a $20 pump instead of a lot of complexity. Last but not least, part of the reason why I'm using that pump instead of a more complex and expensive aeration system is that we can just slip this fitting out, and so now it's bare hose, and I can slip this in, which is another barb that fits right into that hose, and then this hose goes upslope slowly but surely through the garden. You get the idea. It's normally under mulch, but we've been robbing mulch to mulch some plants, and it follows through the lull of the pathway up to a tank higher in the garden. And so when we want to, when there's an excess of rainwater, we can now hook up that hose and bring the water up to here. And so now we've got another watering tank that's in the high point of the garden, easy to water this whole area. So that little pump is doing many, many layers of duty of circulating water. In fact, this tank could really use the same setup. Cheap, scrapped solar panel with a $20 pump and some circulation and aeration happening. This water's fine, but it's a little dingy, and it could be refreshed for sure and make another place for frogs to enjoy and another point of beautiful sound in the landscape. If you are an off-grid person or have aspirations of having your gardens decouple more and more from dependency of the grid, these sorts of little innovations could be quite pleasant, I would hope. So yeah, automatic float valve makes this tank stay full all the time, and a simple solar panel and a very inexpensive pump circulates, aerates, and also transfers water to wherever we want in the landscape. Win-win-win. Minimal investment. We're under 30 bucks, maybe 40 bucks for all this gear, especially if you're looking for used things. On eBay, you might be able to find packs of them or open box, and I'll put more notes in the description. Thanks for watching.